Imagine a man standing before the whole world. He says something that makes many people laugh. "I am the greatest." Many thought he was arrogant. Many believed he was simply exaggerating. But years later, the entire world would have to admit he was right. This is the story of how a young boy's stolen bicycle set him on a path to become a legend. Our story begins in 1942 in the city of Louisville in the United States. On January 17th, a baby boy was born. His name was Cassius Marcellus Clay, Jr. His family was not wealthy. His father painted advertising signs to make a living, while his mother cleaned houses for other families. They worked hard every single day, but their life remained very simple. Cassius grew up during a time in America when racial segregation still existed. Black people and white people lived separately. They could not study in the same schools, eat in the same restaurants, or even drink from the same water fountains. This was the world that shaped his childhood. But as a child, Cassius was simply a playful boy. He loved spending time with his friends, exploring the familiar streets of his city. Life was ordinary until the day everything changed. He was 12 years old. Cassius had a red bicycle, and he loved it very much. One day, he rode it to a local fair. When he came back, the bicycle was gone. Someone had stolen it. Cassius was furious. He declared that if he found the thief, he would beat him. A police officer overheard those angry words. His name was Joe Martin. Joe Martin was also a boxing trainer. He looked at the fiery young boy and then said something very simple. "If you want to fight someone, you should learn how to fight first." That one sentence changed Cassius's life forever. He began going to Joe Martin's boxing gym. The gym was in the basement of a small building. There was nothing fancy there, just a boxing ring and a few punching bags. But for Cassius, that humble place became his world. He trained every single day. In the morning, he ran through the streets of Louisville. In the afternoon, he practiced punching and moving with relentless dedication. Boxing slowly grew from a hobby into the greatest passion of his life. Coach Joe Martin quickly noticed something special. Cassius was incredibly fast. His hands moved like lightning, and his feet were light, almost as if he were dancing across the ring. But what people remembered most was his incredible confidence. Even at a very young age, Cassius said something bold. One day, he would become the world champion. Many people laughed when they heard that. A boy from his background making such a grand claim seemed impossible. But Cassius believed his own words with unshakable conviction. He started competing in amateur tournaments, and he kept winning again and again. From small competitions in the city to larger state tournaments, the name Cassius Clay slowly became more famous. People started to pay attention. Then, at the age of 18, a huge opportunity appeared. Cassius was selected to compete in the 1960 Summer Olympics. That year, the Games were held in the ancient city of Rome. This was the stage where the best athletes in the world came to prove themselves. Cassius fought with incredible speed and unbelievable confidence. His opponents could barely touch him. He moved with a grace that defied the raw power of the sport. In the end, Cassius Clay won the Olympic gold medal. An 18-year-old young man from Louisville had become a champion of the world. He had proven his doubters wrong. But when he returned to America, a hero with a gold medal around his neck, a painful truth was waiting for him. The world outside the ring had not changed, and his greatest fights were still yet to come. We believe every historical figure has a story worth telling. In 1960, a young boxer named Cassius Clay returned to America, an Olympic gold medal shining around his neck. He carried it with immense pride, a symbol of victory for his country. But one ordinary day, that pride was shattered. He walked into a restaurant in his hometown, only to be told he could not be served. The reason was simple and deeply painful: the color of his skin. An Olympic champion, a hero for his nation, was still seen as less than equal. That moment became a turning point in his young life. He began to understand a difficult truth. Triumph inside the boxing ring did not automatically grant him dignity outside of it. The battles won with his fists could not immediately change the deep-rooted injustices of society. This realization ignited a new kind of fire within him. Shortly after, Cassius Clay decided to leave amateur boxing behind and step into the world of professional fighting. From his very first professional bouts, it was clear he was unlike anyone who had come before him. He was not just a fighter. He was a performer, a poet, a prophet of his own destiny. Before each match, he would captivate the world with his words. He recited bold poems, confidently predicting the round in which his opponent would fall. And he repeated a phrase that echoed through the stadiums and across the airwaves, a declaration that became his signature: "I am the greatest." To many, his words sounded like pure arrogance. The sports world had never seen such a brash, self-assured young athlete. But the truly remarkable thing was this: Cassius always backed up his boasts with breathtaking skill. He proved his words with every victory, silencing critics and building a legend. His journey led him to 1964, to a heavyweight championship fight against the fearsome Sonny Liston. The world was watching, and almost no one believed the young challenger stood a chance. But when the opening bell rang, the fight unfolded like nothing anyone had expected. Cassius moved with the grace of a dancer and the speed of a phantom. He seemed to float across the canvas, his feet a blur, his jabs a constant, stinging surprise. The powerful Liston swung at empty air, unable to land a decisive blow on his elusive target. After 6 punishing rounds, the seemingly invincible champion gave up on his stool. At just 22 years old, Cassius Clay was the heavyweight champion of the world. In the euphoric moments following this historic victory, he made an announcement that sent shockwaves across the United States. He declared he was changing his name. He said Cassius Clay was a slave name, a relic from a past he refused to carry. He had chosen a new identity for himself, a name that reflected his faith and his freedom: Muhammad Ali. But as he embraced this new chapter, he could not have known that the greatest challenge of his life was not in the ring, but waiting just around the corner. By 1967, America was deeply embroiled in the Vietnam War, and the draft was a reality for millions of young men. Muhammad Ali received his orders to join the military. His response was firm and unwavering. He refused. Citing his religious beliefs as a Muslim, he declared himself a conscientious objector, stating his faith did not permit him to participate in war. He then posed a question that resonated with a generation and ignited a firestorm of debate across the nation. Why should they ask me to put on a uniform and go 10,000 miles from home and drop bombs and bullets on brown people in Vietnam, while so-called Negro people in Louisville are treated like dogs? That single act of defiance came at a monumental cost. The boxing authorities stripped him of his heavyweight championship title. The government convicted him of draft evasion. He was banned from boxing and his passport was confiscated. For nearly 4 years, during the absolute peak of his athletic prowess, Muhammad Ali was forbidden from stepping into the ring. The best years of his career, the prime of his physical life, were stolen from him, ticking away in a forced exile from the sport he had redefined. His greatest fight was no longer for a title, but for his principles. After years of exile, the world of boxing finally opened its doors to him once more. The suspension had stolen precious time, the peak years of a fighter's life. Yet his spirit was unbroken, his eyes still fixed on the prize he had been forced to surrender. He was determined not just to return, but to reclaim his throne and ascend to the top once again. In 1974, the stage was set for a confrontation that would echo through the ages. A fight so monumental, it would become a legend in its own right. In the heart of Africa, Muhammad Ali would face the formidable George Foreman. This legendary event would forever be known as the Rumble in the Jungle. Foreman was a force of nature. He was younger, stronger, and carried an aura of invincibility. Many considered him the most dangerous and powerful heavyweight boxer the world had ever seen. The odds were stacked heavily against Ali. Pundits, experts, and even some of his own supporters believed this was a challenge too great, a mountain too high to climb. They feared for his safety, predicting a swift and brutal defeat. But Ali, ever the master strategist, had a plan that was as brilliant as it was daring. He saw a weakness where others saw only overwhelming strength. As the bell rang, he did the unthinkable. Instead of dancing, instead of moving, he allowed the fearsome Foreman to unleash his power, to attack again and again. With his back against the ropes, Ali absorbed a relentless barrage of punishing blows. Punch after thunderous punch rained down upon him. He covered his body, protected his head, and let the storm rage. The world watched in disbelief as Ali seemed to be willingly accepting a beating. This was his rope-a-dope strategy, a high-risk gamble to exhaust his powerful opponent. He was waiting, patiently, for the perfect moment. Round after round, Foreman threw his most powerful shots, trying to end the fight. But as the contest wore on, his punches began to lose their ferocious snap. By the 8th round, the seemingly indestructible champion was breathing heavily, his arms feeling like lead. Foreman was utterly exhausted. And that was the precise moment Ali had been waiting for. With a sudden burst of energy, Ali came off the ropes. He unleashed a swift and decisive combination, a final, perfectly timed punch that found its mark. Foreman, the Titan, stumbled and fell to the canvas. The count began, but he could not rise. In that instant, against all odds, Muhammad Ali had done the impossible. He was the heavyweight champion of the world once again. In the years that followed, Ali's fame transcended the boxing ring. He fought more epic battles, but his influence grew far beyond the sport. He became a global icon, a voice for the voiceless, and a symbol of unwavering conviction and charisma. However, the brutal nature of boxing eventually took its toll. After a lifetime of enduring powerful punches to the head, Ali was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. The illness, a cruel irony for a man famed for his lightning speed and dazzling speech, gradually robbed him of his physical grace. It made his hands tremble uncontrollably and silenced the poetic voice that had once captivated the world. Speaking became a great struggle. Even in the face of this debilitating illness, Ali's spirit remained a beacon of inspiration for millions. He continued to travel the world, advocating for peace and understanding. A truly unforgettable moment came in 1996 during the opening ceremony of the Summer Olympics in Atlanta. Ali was given the profound honor of lighting the Olympic torch. As he stood before the world, the flame held in his trembling hands, a hush fell over the stadium. With immense effort and sheer force of will, he raised the torch high, his body shaking but his gaze firm. The entire stadium rose to its feet in a wave of thunderous applause and emotion. It was a moment of pure, unscripted legend, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. Muhammad Ali was never just a boxer. He was a symbol of courage in the face of adversity, a symbol of belief in oneself when the world doubts you, and a symbol of freedom for those who fight for their principles. He showed us that the greatest fights often happen outside the ring. The young boy from Louisville, who was once heartbroken over a stolen bicycle, grew into the man who shook the entire world. If you are moved by the stories of those who shaped our world, subscribe to our channel for more journeys into history. Let us know in the comments which historical figure you would like us to explore next.